Hey, I'm Mark Tillison, and in this video about Google Merchant Center issues, I just want to focus on the missing value gender attribute that may be restricting your ads showing. But this is what shows up in Merchant Center, missing value gender. So what does that mean? What causes it? And how do we fix those missing value gender issues? So you'll see that in the listing. Now, the first thing to understand about this missing value gender is that it only applies to certain Google categories of products. So in your data that you're submitting to Merchant Center, you should have Google product category data included, and you should be declaring the correct category. So this particular issue primarily only occurs when we're talking about clothing and accessories and subsections within that. So effectively, what's happened with this particular issue is Google, in its infinite wisdom and amazing analysis of data and crawling pages and, how amazing Google thinks Google is, just to prove that it isn't always that amazing and the machine learning isn't as amazing as a human. Actually, this thinks that this television bracket is clothing and accessories. So what's happened is when this product has been submitted to Merchant Center, the Google product category isn't being declared. Okay, so if it were being declared, it will be declared as a television bracket and we wouldn't have this gender issue. Okay, but because there isn't a Google product category submitted with this data, Google is then saying, oh, well, I'm going to work it out for you and I'm going to categorize it. So it's obviously looking at this image and somehow it thinks it's an arm warmer or a sleeve. Heaven forbid. I mean, how the hell does it work that out? But anyway, that's a whole other story. So the fix for this particular one is just to basically say, you know what? Let me update my product data from the website in the feed to say, here's the Google product category. Actually, it's TV bracket, TV accessory, whatever the correct category is. And just a note on Google product categories, there is a definitive list of those. You cannot just make them up. If you want to make up your own taxonomy, that you use in the product type attribute. Google product category has to be their category. And you will find weird anomalies in there where you would think, why isn't there a subcategory for my product? If there isn't, there isn't. There's nothing you can do about it. You just use the closest one you can, but use the Google product type to create your own taxonomy and segment your data in Google Ads that way according to those attributes. Anyway, back to the plot. So the issue we're talking about is this missing value gender. So this only happens for clothing. If it's happening for a product that's not clothing, then you need to change this Google product category. So you could do that by ideally fixing in your data source and declaring it correctly, and that solves the problem. That's the number one absolute recommended way to do that. If you cannot do that, then you could add a supplemental feed and edit it that way. I wouldn't recommend that, but you can do that. There's a video about how to do that on our channel. So the method to fix this is to fix the data that's coming out of your website via your feed and being submitted to Merchant Center in the first place. And that will solve this issue with the clothing and accessories being categorized incorrectly. If your products are clothing and accessories and you are missing that data, then what you need to do is edit that data in your source in the website and add that attribute. So if you're using Magento 2 or WooCommerce or Shopify, you need to include that data attribute so it comes out in your feed and comes into Merchant Center. And then you have to basically include an attribute just saying gender, and then I think those are male, female, unisex. Let me just have a look and remind myself. Okay, so there is gender. Yeah, okay, so the available options to you are male, female, unisex, okay? So those are all. So if you include one of those in there, that will solve that problem, and that's going to help kind of overcome these annoying issues here, but also it will help Google match the right products to the right searches, and that should increase the visibility of your ads, increase the click-through rate, and hopefully therefore increase your sales. So if I'm looking for women's shoes, then it's more likely to match if I've declared that gender and then fix there. So ideally, fix it in your source data that's coming from your website, include the attribute, and all will be well. If you cannot do that for whatever reason, then another method is you could use Merchant Center rules. Whole video on that on our channel. I won't go into the details, but effectively you could create a rule that says if you find female, women's, women, girl, whatever, something like that in the title, then set the gender to female. If you find men, men's, man's, boys, that kind of stuff, stuff in the title, then set it to male. If you don't find either, then set it to unisex. So you could set a rule there, and then it will just create that data for you. The challenge with that is you've got to then make sure that your titles include or don't include whether it's male, female, or unisex, which could be problematic with some products, and you're going to get some issues with some where, you know, someone's forgotten to put that in the title. Any number of issues with that automation, so I would be careful with that. The other method, again, there's another video on our channel about augmenting or supplementing your data with a supplemental feed. So my preferred method there will be to use a Google Sheet. Effectively, you list your product IDs in one column, you create gender in another column, and then you manually go through and say male, female, male, 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 unisex, and you just declare them. The challenge with that, two challenges. One is every time you add a bunch of products, you've got to go and add them to that supplemental feed and declare whether they're male, female, or unisex. The second challenge with that is if you update the data and you fix it in your feed, so the data coming from your website, a month or 2 months or 3 months from now, what's going to happen is your data is now correct from your feed, and then your supplemental feed will always overwrite what's coming from your data. So effectively, you're going to fix it with a supplemental feed, then you're going to fix it in your proper feed coming from the website, and then your fix is going to be overwritten by an earlier fix. So if you suddenly decide, oh, you know what, that t-shirt is unisex, that's coming out of your data from your website saying the t-shirt is unisex, and then the old fix for the supplemental feed is going to say it's male, and now your data is incorrect. So you get into a whole heap of problems around, well, hang on a minute, my data's now wrong, but is it coming from a supplemental feed? Is it coming from a merchant center rule? Is it coming from my original data? And then someone's got to unpick that mess. If you're dealing with a site where you've got thousands, tens of thousands of products, that's a massive headache you can do without, right? So ideally, include the data in your original feed and fix those missing value gender issues. Okay, so I hope that's really helped. If you're having other issues with Google Merchant Center, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. Maybe we'll do a video for you on that, but if we can help you, we certainly will do our best to try. If this has helped you out, we'd really appreciate a thumbs up, and of course, follow us for more videos on Google Merchant Center.